told my plug I need 100 pigs. Now my shoebox got 100 G's. Told the plug I need 100 pigs. Now my shoebox got 100 G's. I told my plug I need 100 pigs. Now my shoebox got 100 G's. I'm in Cali every week. I go hard. Bro said he got sour, need that whole yard. I'm chasing turkey bag. I'm chasing gold yard. Tell us down, we won't go far.
Good afternoon. You're listening to Cannabis Corner on WNHHLP 103.5 FM, broadcasting live from downtown New Haven. We are also streaming live on TuneIn Radio and NewHavenIndependent.org. We also stream live on Facebook Live. Just go to facebook.com/New Haven Independent, or just go to your Facebook page, look us up, hit see first, and you'll get to see all the great programming we have here on WNHH and the New Haven Independent.
I love that Facebook feature because you can always just kind of hit that show first, and anytime you pop on, right, one of those great shows from the New Haven Independent pop up, either Joe's show, Joe Ugly will be on in the mornings, Harry the Brave, sometimes the mayor's on, but having that access is pretty important, man. Yep. It's really awesome.
Yeah, no, it's very cool. So today we have a special guest in studio. You notice the layout's a little different. Kibra is here, though you cannot see her. We might switch a little bit in the break so you could.
We're going to move around because I don't need to be in front of this camera either.
Uncle Lou, I'm going to let you do the intro. We have here Lou Pino with us, and I'm going to let you do the intro for him.
As we normally do, we usually have a little bio, and one of the team kind of reads it out, and yeah, I get to do that today. So Lou, Lou Pino, the CEO and creative director of Terps and Trips, a branding firm that services the East Coast, New England, geared to the cannabis industry on both the medical and recreational side. Terps and Tricks offers everything from website design to the logo design, public relations, and full 10 and 15-year branding packages. The branding firm produces, manages, and consults on events from small business meetings to weekend festivals, while also offering agency market research and development. Lou Pino is an Army veteran with 8 years served. Formerly promotions director for La Bomba. That's another radio station here in New England. Playing an essential role in the startup of the Latin radio station in Hartford, CT for its first 4 years. He is also the founder of Gene Traders, the only genetics event in the country, and co-hosts the Joint Committee Sessions, a cannabis podcast talking about the cannabis market as a whole. Lou Pino brings an array of business and cannabis expertise to the fast-rising legal cannabis industry. And we've had the pleasure of working on a couple projects together. And thank you for joining us as our first in-session, in-studio guest. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, we've never had anybody in the studio before.
We have a couple live feeds going on. So if you're one of Kibra's followers, you're on Instagram. Lou, what are you on?
I'm on Facebook right now.
Lou's on his Facebook. So now we've got people seeing from all over the country. I'm pretty sure your feed also reached the West Coast.
Yes.
Yeah.
Something I always have to keep conscious of when I'm like sending emails or calling people because the
time difference.
It's funny. It's really funny sometimes.
Oh, what do we got going on over there?
Oh, look, they got tripods.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
nice. Up and coming.
Way to go. We
fancy, huh?
Living the best life right now.
Oh my God.
I don't think you can go a long way.
Yeah,
it's wide.
Right.
That's what she said. Yeah. So Lou, talk to us a little bit about what you got. Tell us about you. We got that out of the way. Thank you for. You says you're an 8-year Army veteran. What did you do in the service, man?
Thank you for your service.
Yeah.
No problem. I was in the neighborhood.
Yeah, walking through, doing some things.
Just doing some things. I just wanted to look at a lot of sand, so
that's what. So what did you do? What was your career choice?
I decided to become a recon scout.
All right.
Which means that in front of every force, there's a group of individuals that end up assessing road, bridges, and searching for enemy combatants and something like that, or objectives that we need to do reconnaissance of, and that's what I did.
Awesome. So so one might say that your attention to detail is one of your strong suits. So as a branding individual,
It's pretty much life and death. It's
Alright.
usually 2 to 4 man teams, so there's no backup.
No, I meant
There's no,
more for
like-
your individual attention to detail. It says your branding and marketing.
Oh well, one thing that actually the Army did teach me that I do with the branding is actually more of a strategy. I'm able to actually read what could happen. Potential events that could end up happening with a group of individuals, and we can end up planning for that. So it helps me with a business that might be facing potential future problems, or maybe spotting potential future problems and have them fix it before they run into it, which with business time and money and it's
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Time for mistakes.
Yeah,
They happen all the time.
I've seen firsthand some of the events that you've done. I'm a member of most of us are members up at the Tetrahydra Club up in Rhode Island.
Yeah.
And you hosted some very large events up there, sir. On the marketing side, tell us a little bit about those. Some of those guests you've had.
So the Tetrahydra Club, actually we designed that logo. We helped come up with the name, with the pharmacist as far as coming up with different type of things. With the Tetrahydra Club, which is all brainchild and of the pharmacist, which we all know, and we've all been part of that club for a very long time. Even people from the West Coast, when they come out here, they're like, I can't. There's nothing like this in the West Coast. There's places like that, but nothing within that kind of very accepting type of environment that you never feel left out or some a little bit oddball in the corner. You never get that, and that's something that the pharmacists and the crew have really, really worked hard on, and I give them a lot of props on that. I mean,
so now, what do you have going on now, sir?
So, what started actually at the Tetrahydra Club was gene traders. We were actually dealing with bringing cultivation advice, different type of genetics for people to cultivate medically in Rhode Island. And that's obviously with different laws in different states. Some states can, some states can't.
Mm-hmm.
Like Connecticut can't,
Right.
which it's always a big kind of sore spot for me because I'm a Connecticut resident myself, and I have to, as my company, all my business is out of state. It's either in Rhode Island or Massachusetts. Maine.
Right. We feel the same pain here.
It's
Yeah.
it's crazy. It's crazy. So fast forward 2 years later for Gene Traders,
Mm-hmm.
and I actually just booked the Oakdale Theater in Wallingford, Connecticut, to
Mm-hmm.
hold expo. This one's going to be a little bit more what you would end up seeing at like a regular like a convention, but this one's going to be geared towards cultivation.
Who should come to this event? Like, what is your target audience?
People who would like to learn how to cultivate or cultivate already. It's all geared towards cultivation. There will be genetic different type of seed companies and stuff like that, nutrient companies, education organizations, light companies, everything and anything you need to do as far as dealing with cultivation. People
So for a novice,
a novice to super expert,
Okay.
or what they call master grower, air quotes.
I hear that term thrown around a lot.
Quite a bit. It doesn't mean all master grower means is that you have a big facility. That doesn't mean like you know everything under the sun. Like it's really hard to do that. But I people ask me why not in Rhode Island, why not in Massachusetts, why in Connecticut, why they can't cultivate medically. And I told them, I was like, well, it's a kind of a bit of a protest. One, Gene Traders is a regional event, so we're not focused on the state side because we get people. Last event we had actually somebody fly up from Puerto Rico to go to our mass
nice.
event.
Mm-hmm.
The one before that, we actually had people drive down from Canada to actually go to our event. They were actually also doing some scouting for people that they want to actually back in within the mass area for cultivation sites.
Nice.
So I want to say international, but not yet. I'll say national. I'll just say
that's
national.
international.
That is.
I know, but
continental.
When we added Canada, that made it international.
That's
Don't
right.
forget.
No, there's a little asterisk.
That's right. And we got Canada coming up, going to be legal on the 17th.
We're talking
Right.
3 days.
A lot of big news
I
coming
know.
out.
They're
of
already
Canada.
exporting. It's crazy.
Yeah. it is
Yeah.
crazy.
They're exporting their medical to Germany.
Wow.
It's unbelievable. And now I just heard too that their active duty can actually use cannabis.
I know
Yes.
that's-
Yes.
And I heard their off-duty police
Yes.
can now use cannabis. I heard you're allowed on domestic flights as long as they're only throughout Canada. Like you can fly from province to province with over 30 grams
Listen.
of
So you can use that
cannabis.
little ashtray that they
So
put
if you
out?
are in
Canada is
if you
what
are
it
in Air
is.
Canada and you're flying from like Quebec to Saskatchewan or whatever,
Yeah.
you can carry 30 grams of cannabis
Listen,
right on the
guys.
plane.
Yeah,
Listen,
cannabis.
Can we please go on a trip to Canada and go from province to province?
Like
consuming
reporters. Like
different-
reporters.
Like we need
reporters.
Yes.
to. The cannabis tourism is huge. It
Oh,
is a
yeah.
huge, huge,
Canadian-
huge.
yeah.
No, but please, can I get a commitment on this? I want
Oh,
a
we
trip.
will do that.
Province
That's
to
a
province.
that's a
I got
business trip.
relatives in Canada. Let's go.
We will
Yeah.
travel.
That's
I-
what, you know. That's we're doing that now too. When we end up traveling to different places, tasting other people's,
course,
weed.
right.
Yeah.
I just came from Vegas, and
Oh.
I tasted their.
How is it out there? How's their rec system?
Oh God,
I'm sorry, it's it's
it's like a party.
It's
It's like a
boo-boo.
club.
not to keep it very PC. It's boo boo in my opinion, and it ends up being more because, it's such a high demand.
Yeah.
That they don't properly take the final steps, flushing, properly
Yeah.
curing. So they rush to to
Rush
the
to
retail.
get it out, right?
And that shows when at the final product, because you can end up doing a great job, but if you end up like messing it up at the end, then
Yeah.
Then
Las
you're
Vegas has
done.
a lot of $90 ounces.
yeah. Don't get me wrong, it's
mids are
super-
back.
I landed at like
Super mids.
12:30 in at midnight, a little hour at midnight.
Oh, they
at,
still open.
at one at
They
1:10.
open.
I was at a
Bumping.
dispensary.
Yeah.
They were open.
yeah,
Okay.
music bumping.
Yeah.
Could not believe it.
Like
it
a
was,
club.
So
Yeah.
I did it. I went out there. I
Oh,
bought
there's 4
some.
screens.
It was
Oh.
Yeah.
nice.
Gary's the best.
But like
Let me show my
for
shirt.
Connecticut,
Well, we're gonna get a
Put them
call in a
girls
little
away.
soon, a little bit from Aaron Romano, who has
Okay.
been working with the state of Connecticut. He
Mhm.
actually put a lawsuit up against the state
Mhm.
yeah.
to cultivate hemp on his own private property. He wants to commercially cultivate hemp on his own private property because in Connecticut it is technically legal to grow hemp.
Right.
It has been completely taken off the schedule.
Yeah.
So, what I want to talk to him about, clarify with him, is he's talking about commercial cultivation of hemp.
Mhm.
Where does that stand with personal cultivation of hemp? And is somebody like you, me, or Lou allowed to grow 2-3 plants and do whatever we want with it as long as we're not selling it? Just like tomatoes or basil or anything like that. So I want to ask him that. That could definitely, affect what you're doing and maybe open up a bigger market for it. Because if people knew about that, they might be more apt or more inclined to go learn how to grow if they knew they could at least grow grow the hemp.
CBD,
Same process, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
if
It
you're
would be the
talking about,
same. It would be the same process.
Same
But
process.
I think
right?
I think what's only keeping everybody back now is just the rules. Like we
Yeah.
got uno zoo, but the state doesn't want to put out any official regulations for it. That's
For
all
commercially.
it's needed.
And
right.
or even
commercial.
for
But
personal.
if it's completely off the schedule, why isn't it just like tomatoes?
Consider it a microgreen. Hemp
Why?
as a microgreen.
That's what I want to ask him.
Well, I guess my first question, I'm playing devil's advocate. My question would be, what's the benefit of actually growing your own personal hemp?
Well, what
I mean,
if
it's
I
not
wanted
like
to
you
make
don't
my
have
own
it. Oh, yeah.
tincture?
I want
Okay.
to make my own CBD. I
Raw.
want to use
What about
my
the raw
own
flour to juice it?
Right, right.
I want my
What
own
if I wanna
hemp
smoke
hearts.
it?
I want my own hemp hearts.
Yeah.
I'll let it seed out.
Just like if I grew tomatoes, what do they care if I make sauce out of it? If I put it in my salad, if I make some bruschetta, whatever I want to do with those tomatoes, I can do with it, and the state has never going to say a word to me.
Those would be
So why
delicious
shouldn't it be the
tomatoes.
same as hemp? Why shouldn't I be able to grow 2 or 3 hemp plants, be able to juice it if I want, be
I
able to
agree.
smoke it if I want, or be able to make a little tincture if I wanted out of it for my own personal use?
Mhm. I say
What's
naysayers.
the
I think
difference?
You just need to go ahead
Naysayers,
and,
and actually now because yeah.
If legally it's legal, what's stopping me?
I'm gonna say naysayers.
I
and,
say don't do that. 'Cause
And,
when the cops
um,
come knocking on your door.
people potentially taking advantage of it. Growing something else, and people have invested quite a bit of money into the Connecticut medical cultivation industry here, which is
We
the
know.
price tag is super ridiculous.
We know that's why
Yes.
we don't have patient grow rights, but this is hemp. I'm
It's-
talking
it's
about
n-
something different.
That's true, but this is what we're talking about. 'Cause
First of all,
you
people
got
they're not intelligent enough or informed enough.
Correct. They're
to
not
know the
informed enough.
difference, really. We
All you gotta do
we
is test
sat
it.
there,
Right.
but I'm just saying, we got to get through that first level of understanding the difference and helping people understand that. I think That's the number one thing keeping us from being able to move forward with it, because they don't understand the difference.
No,
So
this is
we
true.
could just say, yeah, it's different, but they're not acknowledging that difference. They're not educating themselves about that difference. So thus keeping us from going forward.
Yeah. Well, this is, I think, one of the big things we got to fight for.
Well, the prohibition
Yeah.
of cannabis also was part of hemp too, because it
Oh,
also
yeah.
dealt with
Oh, yeah.
textile, dealing with
That's why-
cotton and other stuff. And it's all. That's the thing though. Like, even though we know that it's separate, they've treated it together for like 80 years with negative branding on it. So it's hard to separate, and we're doing
Correct.
that.
Aaron's
with
on the line right
normalization.
now, so let's
let's talk hemp.
Outstanding.
Aaron,
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. How you doing?
good.
Good. How
Hey.
you doing?
Hey,
We were just
Aaron.
having a little debate here on hemp, and before we get into it with you, I wanted to ask you a question. How's the lawsuit going? Can you explain to us a little bit about what you've got
Sure.
going on with the lawsuit against the agriculture department here?
Sure. So, as a lawyer who rarely practices criminal law, and a lot of what I do involves constitutional laws, you feel like you're banging your head against the wall, like over and over and over again. And once again today, I just felt like I was doing that once again. But I know that there's a goal at the end, and hopefully, we can just go ahead and literally just set the plant free. I mean, ultimately, that's what the goal is. Here they had an assistant attorney general today. Are folks familiar with the litigation?
No, can you give me? We went over it last week.
Sure.
We did. We covered it quite a
Okay.
bit, but I wanted to just get your quick synopsis of it, and then how the hearing went.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure. Brief summary. I have some farmland. I want to grow hemp on it. Okay. I stand in the shoes of many other farmers and many other folks in Connecticut who want to grow hemp. Hemp is legal from 2014 onward, and what essentially the legislature did was exclude industrial hemp from the list of controlled substances. They did not issue any regulations or any other limitations to cultivation or sale or possession or manufacture of hemp. They simply excluded it from a controlled substance. Now, many folks probably know the hemp plant is the exact same plant as the cannabis sativa plant that we commonly, when ingested, results in some type of intoxicating effect. The difference is, and this is the way I've been explaining it to folks, it's like growing grapes that never can make wine. Okay? So hemp is like growing grapes that will make grape juice. And cannabis, the species that will get you intoxicated, would be like growing the same plant, growing the grapes that can turn into wine. And so the state legislature, in its ultimate wisdom, decided to go ahead and remove hemp, industrial hemp, from controlled substances so farmers can go ahead and grow it, and anyone else who wants to grow it, because it doesn't have an intoxicating effect. And so the concerns that I think the General Assembly had, people might smoke and drive, all those kinds of concerns, those arguments that we've heard before, really don't exist with industrial hemp. So when I went to my local police department and told them about the law, the change in the law, and what my intentions were, they said that they would enforce all laws that currently are applicable. So hemp is still illegal federally, and when I did my research, I came up with the fact that local police can enforce federal law.
Patriot law. Patriot.
Okay. So if they wanted to, they could still arrest me and then refer it for prosecution to the U.S. Attorney's Office.
Correct.
The U.S. Attorney's Office covers any violations of federal law. They also then referred me to the Department of Agriculture and said, you need to clear this with the Department of Agriculture. So when I contacted the Department of Agriculture, they said that it is illegal and that they cannot give any opinions to state or municipal agencies that it is legal. And that's just simply not true. And they cited the difference between federal and state law as one of the grounds for making that opinion that it is illegal. And as we all know, Connecticut has a medical cannabis program, and the medical cannabis program is illegal according to federal law, and it functions. And it's state sanctioned. So the same way that the medical cannabis program functions, the state has opened up industrial hemp to be grown, manufactured, sold, possessed without any penalty at all. So what I'm doing today is I filed a lawsuit against the Department of Agriculture. And what I'm asking the courts to do is instruct the Department of Agriculture that industrial hemp is now legal and that they should, in the future, when inquiries are made, give that opinion to state and municipal law enforcement agencies, and furthermore, to tell my local police department that it is, in fact, legal for me to grow industrial hemp. And what that essentially will do is anyone else who's similarly situated who wants to grow industrial hemp will have this written decision by the courts that they can wave around, and they could go to their police department ahead of time to make sure. And I urge everyone to do that. Don't just grow it on your own and think that you're okay. The police, they didn't know. My local police department didn't even know that industrial hemp was legal. So I urge you, if you're going to do it, you approach them first. You have this written opinion, hopefully that we'll get soon, and then you say, I want to grow it. Here's the opinion. Thank you very much.
Right. Now, does this count for personal cultivation, too? This was the little debate we were having. I noticed that your lawsuit deals mostly with the commercial cultivation of it. If it is taken off the schedule, like you said, isn't it the same as growing a tomato plant or a basil plant, that whatever you do with it in your house is your own business? And is it legal to grow 2 or 3 hemp plants and juice it?
You can do whatever you want with it.
Except sell it.
This is for personal use or industrial, and there's no limitations on selling it. So if you wanted to grow 5 plants, 10 plants in your backyard, you could consume some of it, you could sell some of it, and there's no regulations on it. There's no restrictions.
Okay. And right now we're trying to get the legislator to put on some regulations. Is this true?
I don't know. I not me.
No,
I don't think I don't think they should. Because
You just want them to make sure
Joe,
that you can't. I just want them to make sure they can't get arrested for it. Now,
yeah. So as it stands now, the law says that you cannot be arrested for it as long as it complies with the definition of industrial hemp, which is under 0.3% THC per dried weight.
Right.
Okay, and the only way to tell that is when it's dried. So unfortunately, I think the situation that many folks would find themselves in is if law enforcement does see it growing, they're going to cut down the plants, and then they're going to wait for it to dry, and then they analyze it.
Or why making sure that they arrested you and you've gone through 2 different hearings,
right.
And you probably
exactly. And when I spoke to the Assistant Attorney General this morning, he was suggesting that the civil action that I filed was not the correct civil action. Instead, what I should do is grow and wait for the police to arrest me.
And then file a
fight it out in court.
That's what everybody's waiting for.
I don't want to be arrested. I don't want to have to pay a bond. I don't want my property to go into asset forfeiture and have to defend the fact that I'm, cultivating cannabis sativa for profit or, for whatever reason, but then have my property to go into asset forfeiture.
Yeah.
That's not the way to redeem this. The way to deal with it is to deal with it ahead of time and go to court and have a judge say it's okay.
That's right.
Yeah. Now, does this farm bill, which has been held up, would that eliminate this conflict between the federal and the state law? If this farm bill that the 2018 farm bill that is supposed to have been signed at the federal level, would that eliminate this conflict?
So here's the thing: I think the Department of Agriculture and the AG's office, they're not sure what they want, and I think even if the farm bill said that it was legal, I don't think that would stop the Department of Ag from saying that there needs to be regulations. Their position is they need to put out regulations for hemp, and I said, well, that's fine. So go ahead and do that.
Right.
But right now it's legal. If you want to regulate it, I think you have to approach the state legislature. They have to redraft. Well, not redraft because they excluded, but they have to then draft legislation requiring that Department of Ag draft regs, and then you draft the regs. But right now, like you said, Joe, it's like tomatoes. It's like growing tomatoes.
Yeah.
So those are not regulated, and so industrial hemp is not regulated. And we're seeing that this has been true from 2014 onward, and there haven't been any issues with it. Right. So my opinion is, why regulate it now if we didn't have to have it regulated for the past 4 years? It hasn't been regulated, and we're not seeing any issues.
But nobody's actually tried to grow it.
Well,
in the last 4
I
years,
think that's why that's part of the reason too that nobody's tried to grow it, because when these hearings just before these elections started coming, we ended up actually doing, we all saw each other at the state capitol. We all made some testimonies, and one of them was actually part of the hemp association, and he was representing a whole bunch of farmers within Connecticut that all they wanted was some regulations, and that's what was stopping them from going, full thing. Well, I do agree that less regulation is better, but I think that for some people they want to kind of feel a little bit more secure. Yep. That at least they have some kind of law of the letter to actually protect them a little bit.
You have to go through them,
right?
Testing this, arresting you, gotta make bail.
That's what everybody look for. That kind of like somebody to
throw themselves on the cross,
martyr them a little bit, but still be able to actually pay. For a lot of times, people like that, they don't have the funds or anything like that.
The $100,000 to fight
the
it,
state, because that's what you're basically doing. Yeah.
And it's expensive.
Well, the problem, I think the way I'm against the regulations, and I'll tell you why. Because I think if we regulate it, we're now taking it out of the category of just like tomatoes. It's not. Once again, I mean, the point is you can't get high from it. So what is the need to regulate something? If we think about the types of things that typically are regulated, I mean, wine, alcohol, beer. We have the medical program. Why is the medical program regulated?
You can get high from it.
That's to ensure, it ensures safety, quality. But the medicines themselves have to go through a doctor, and people have to be cleared through a doctor. And because it does have a psychoactive effect, I mean, no one denies that.
Yeah, but it's not dangerous.
There have to be certain safety measures that are put into place. But what's the threat of growing industrial hemp?
None.
What's the threat of cannabis? There is none. There's nobody. There's.
Well, we know that.
There's not a threat to any of it. It's basically on 2 points. Either on this long-standing, because hemp and cannabis have been butted up together for like 80 years on a political and business standpoint. Obviously, industrial hemp poses a threat to other industries, and cannabis poses a threat. Medical cannabis poses a threat to insurance companies, pharmaceutical companies. I mean, there's money threat is what is what's being really discussed, and until we can actually
gets the money
who gets the money, and until like a replacement of a regular recreational industry and a regulated hemp industry where they can actually collect some of those tax dollars and they could just take their chunk of the pie and be happy. Until that happens, we'll remain in kind of this weird
gray area,
semi stalemate. More on their side, not really stale, but.
And my concern is if they draft the regs, they're going to do it the same way the medical program was drafted, and then you're going to have only big money being able to go ahead and grow.
Right.
And we worry about that with the recreational too. It seems to be the tone of this state that they just put it in the hands of big money and their cronies, and whoever's going to kick it back to them and all that, and it's unfortunate, but this is the state we live in, and the only way to change that is to get rid of these people. Correct, Aaron? We need to vote.
Yeah.
That's
make sure to vote.
Now,
coming up.
Connecticut is. I heard this last week that from the 18th century, it was referred to as the land of steady habits.
Right.
And what they meant by that, whoever was criticizing the state, is that the same folks get elected in time and time again.
Right.
And it's really difficult to have alternative political viewpoints heard in the state because you have the two parties really controlling access to ballots. And you have to, what you'll see is you'll see people who do get elected worked their way through the party to get their opportunity, to get their turn, so to speak, to get the party's endorsement and their support, and then they go in. But by that time, you've now earned your ability to do that, and they know you're a safe bet.
And
it's
you're
really
in a lot
hard
of
for
people's
third-party
pockets by
candidates. I'm
then.
not suggesting don't do it, but it's
Well, I'm
land of steady
thinking
habit.
the solution to, I mean, people need to vote. There needs to be more third-party independent candidates. I think it is really time for us to break out of this two-party system, and somehow, some way, we have to get more credibility to the third-party candidates, because realistically, they are not in the pocket of anybody. And
Unaffiliated.
somebody like a
Yeah.
guy like Oz Griebel, if you listen to his views on cannabis legalization, he probably has the best plan out of all the three of them.
Hmm.
Bob Stefanowski doesn't have a plan. He doesn't really care. He doesn't think it's a priority. Ned Lamont, we know where he's going to head with that. Same place that the medical program headed,
Yep.
because we know who his advisor is.
Talk
And
about my
then and then this Oz Griebel guy is talking about opening it up to to everybody, making it more inclusive, having all these programs that we talked about in Massachusetts. But nobody's going to give him a shot because they figure, an independent guy couldn't win, really. But technically, if you look at the three different opinions, his really suits the best.
Yeah,
This
but-
is the best.
But he's fighting party affiliation.
Right.
Like, people, just because you're already on that side, they'll vote for you. They don't know nothing. I mean, nothing about you, and they're just stepping in
Because
line
you're in
and
the
not
party,
thinking for themselves.
I
It's
feel-
unbelievable.
I feel like Bob Stefanowski's gonna win. Like
Mm.
that's how I feel like it's gonna be like Trump. all
Well,
over
maybe
again.
he needs to. What he needs to really understand about the medical program is the first thing that they tell you is that it's the golden standard of it. Not true.
Not at all.
Yeah.
I'll tell you
Yeah.
right. This
No.
only from this, and then there's a whole bunch of things that are wrong with it. With our my branding agency, one of the things we do is market research. Who's consuming, what age group, all that like that. And the biggest consumers of cannabis are senior citizens.
Right.
Now, what do we know about senior citizens' finance? They're usually fixed income. Right. So now you're talking about a potential of $400 to $900 extra a month
Right.
for their medical cannabis, because they can't cultivate. They have to go to one of the very few dispensaries.
9 dispensaries.
It doesn't matter how many dispensaries. They're only getting it from 4 cultivation sites. So
Gross,
it's still the same thing. You're still dealing with the
Same
exact
medicine,
same
yeah.
medicine across the board.
And you can't access your medicine half the time because it's not available.
Yes.
Not enough. Not
So
enough
that's
being
not a perfect
cultivated.
program.
It's not consistent.
It's definitely
Either
not a
it's not, there's a whole bunch of things, but
Yeah.
just on the simple money portion, as far as thinking about then especially nowadays, because baby boomers end up being the biggest senior group.
Right.
Such a big group, and you're taking such of advantage of them financially. I mean, really, come on.
I
You can't
agree.
call yourself a compassion center on those type of quality of life issues. You
Very
cannot.
true. All right, so Aaron, is
Yes.
there any way we can support you in your in this quest in your lawsuit, or anything our listeners can do to get out there and help with this hemp issue here? Maybe start growing it themselves.
I think what people should do is write to the Department of Agriculture, and you can email them and ask them their opinion. State that you want to grow hemp according to PA 15202, and just start flooding them with requests.
Okay.
And then if you're serious about it, you can hop on, you can join the lawsuit, and we can put together a really excellent class action.
Oh,
Ooh,
okay.
that sounds
How do we reach you then, Aaron? How does people reach you? I know you are also the legal advisor for Connecticut Normal. How do people reach you so they can get involved with this?
Sure. So my website.
Uh-oh.
Are you there?
Yep.
Yep, we're here.
Okay, great. Sorry about that. The cat ran over the phone. The website is AaronRomanoLaw.com.
AaronRomanoLaw.com, and people can find out more information about the
I'm
lawsuit.
sorry, AttorneyAaronRomano.com.
Attorney-
And you can find out all information. Yeah, AttorneyAaronRomano.com. And what you do is you just tell Department of Agriculture, according to PA 15-202, you would like to grow industrial hemp. Can you please advise me of the legality of it?
Okay.
And what we could do is just start forwarding the answers over, and we can start filing additional complaints.
Right.
And you could always hit
Now,
one of
there is
us
a
up
cost
if you
to it.
want to
Yeah.
get in touch with Aaron. If you weren't able to get his email address, hit any of us up, and we'll make sure you
Or
get
through
in touch
normal.
with him.
Connecticut Normal.
Come on out
Yeah,
to
if
one
you
of
go
the
to
normal
website,
meetings.
You go to the website, the address is there. So
Excellent.
I'm going to continue forging ahead, and I just don't understand the conversation I had with the Assistant Attorney General. I said to him, you do realize that by fighting against this, you're denying farmers access to a crop that could save their farms.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
What was
That's
his
the
response?
thing. Put it like that. I said, look, it's not about me. It's about what this decision, what this opinion, how it's going to affect farmers who are struggling in their ability to diversify their crop to a cash crop that's going to help them with farming. How much corn can someone sell to keep afloat?
Not just
And
that,
Not in this
it
state,
just, he was,
especially.
not just that, but
he
the
was
soy.
unmoved.
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 So
Unmoved.
so I was in North Dakota about a month and a half ago, and soybeans as far as I can see, but of course with the tariffs, China isn't buying. So they're actually looking into hemp to save some of these farms from actually going under, and hoping that the state actually passes some legislation.
Mm-hmm.
So who is this Assistant Attorney General? And is he up for election?
That's how it works.
Yeah, I'm not gonna say.
People look up who
you
the
can-
Assistant Attorney
If
General
you're
is.
that curious, you can look up the case on the Judicial Branch website. You go under Civil Lookup. You can put my name in there under last name Romano, first name Aaron, and you'll come up with the current lawsuit. And that's really, he's not in control. He said, I'm representing the department. I said, which department? He said, the Department of Ag. And I just couldn't understand then, if he's representing the department's interest, why the Department of Agriculture would want to deny farmers the ability to grow this crop and diversify. It doesn't make sense.
That's the big issue right there.
Now, is there farmers that actually
They're behind it. They want to do it.
So
right?
is there like a list of farmers?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. I'm on the Harford County Board of Directors for the Harford County Farm Bureau. 2 years ago, I was a delegate to the statewide annual event where we look at different policies and support policies or change policies that we're engaged in. And 2 years ago, I proposed that the Farm Bureau support legalization of hemp and cannabis, and it passed overwhelmingly. There were, I think, 2 dissenters out of a room of close to 150 delegates. So people want to get involved, and the comments that people made was, we see what's happening, we want to be involved, we don't want to be left behind.
Mm-hmm.
So they know it, and they want to be involved, and they're struggling, and farmers are selling off property to developers. And ultimately, where are farms going to go? In Connecticut, we're not going to have any local food, or the local food that's produced is just going to be the cost is going to be too high for many folks to be able to afford.
Well, where if a farmer's able to subsidize their income with hemp, and they're able to now offer a nice quality, low cost, local tomato in exchange, right?
That's exactly the point. A lot of farmers are going into agritourism, and those who can. But I mean, how many folks have the ability to build special housing and like visitor centers for people to come in there and kind of see what farming is all about? Not many people can afford that. We're talking about, pig farmers and dairy farmers and
people who do it the big
vegetable farmers. Yeah, they've got tractors, they've got barns, and they raise agriculture and they raise livestock. Now those folks do have land, and if they were able to grow 3, 4, 5 acres, that could affect their bottom line so much that
for sure
we could buy locally grown beef, organically fed beef, or pork, and vegetables
Hemp
at a
hemp-fed beef.
right at a local at a regular cost. Everyday people can afford it. Folks can't go to Whole Foods and spend on that food. You know,
Essentially bringing Whole Foods to the masses, creating that.
That's right.
It's amazing. That's a
right.
great way of looking at that.
And everyone knows eating local is better.
Right.
Yeah.
Supports everything. Supports the economy, and it's much better for you. All right, Aaron, we're going to let you go.
Thanks, Aaron.
Thank you, Aaron.
Thanks, Aaron.
All right.
Hopefully, we'll see you.
It's
at
always
the-
wonderful being on the show, and I love the fact that I can talk to some other folks who are dedicated to this cause, and all the listeners out there, don't give up. Don't give up.
That's
He's
right.
right around the corner.
That's right, Aaron.
Yes, sir.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Aaron.
Keep strong.
Take care.
Take care.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right, so some good advice from Aaron. Well, Lou, I think your work is cut out for you now. You got gene
Yeah.
traders coming in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People can grow hemp legally. I
Yeah.
mean, I think they need lighting, they need seeds, they need
Right.
soil, they need to know how to do this now.
Yeah.
Right.
So
And when is it?
this?
Yeah, we want to know when
So
it is.
this is going to be February 3rd.
Mhm.
Right there.
February 3rd. So starting off the year,
Yeah.
up and running, which we found too, especially dealing with some of the outdoor cultivation, as far as dealing with mass and mass, not Rhode Island, because I don't think Rhode Island can actually do outdoors.
I think no.
No. So
Indoor.
mass is as long as it's you can't see it from street
Street
level.
view. Yeah.
Right.
Yep, you have a fence and it's locked, which of course you want to lock it.
Yep.
You can do your normal 12 12 max per household without any
Right.
permit or anything.
Now, do you hope
just
to,
for self?
to attract people down from Massachusetts, Rhode Island,
It's
and
it's a regional event. People come from everywhere.
even New York too, right? Let's
Right.
get them in, right? They can't grow in
Not
New York
just that.
either. Now,
No,
Well,
they can't.
hemp.
No,
People-
but this
I
something
don't.
too.
Oh yes, hemp is legal in New York as
Yes,
well.
it is. Yes, it is.
Same thing as Connecticut.
So something too that Gene Traders provides ends up being information
Well, yeah.
from cultivators themselves, rather than either reading a blog or some forum or just kind of just looking on like Instagram and trying to see what kind of you get that one-on-one, that face type time to actually ask those minute questions. Or what about this? What about that?
Right.
Sometimes you don't know that.
Interaction with actual cultivators.
Yeah.
You're going to
So,
get education.
yeah, I was
There's going to be
ask you,
panels
there'll
and
be panels, demos.
classes and demos.
Right. So we're that part we're still working on, in the sense of how we actually break it down, because there's a lot of people out there that end up teaching classes a whole
Mhm.
bunch of different ways, and I feel that it's it jumps all over the place. You'll end up having somebody talking about extraction right after somebody just talk about like veg and like regular cultivation maintenance.
Right.
I think it should follow from
Yeah,
seed
that's
to
very
harvest.
true. Very true. Yeah.
You know,
When we did the school, our curriculum went straight from seed
to
to
harvest.
harvest,
Right.
then to extraction.
Right. It should
Yeah.
follow, it should follow it naturally.
Yeah.
Something that we did at our conference was we had like experts
Mhm.
one-on-one with people who signed up to kind of like ask their specific question. I think that was a really good element that would work really well
Yeah.
for somebody who wants to ask a grower. Every time I do this,
Right.
what
Well,
happened?
This is
Right.
the great thing about Gene Traders. You can go to any of the sponsors, any single
Nice.
table,
And hang out and
they'll
talk
be
to 'em,
able
yeah.
to talk to you.
Nice.
So
That's
it's
a
not
beautiful
so
thing.
the classroom will end up being a little bit more to get some of the basics down, ask questions.
Yes.
The tables ends up being for even novice, because we require all our sponsors to make sure that they understand, they explain to them some of the basic stuff, like what a tester is, or
Yeah.
what this, what that, just some of the basic lingo, because they might not know at all. Or, I mean, I know some people that been doing it for a few years and still don't know some basic stuff. I'm like,
Right.
what are you doing?
Right.
That's too much humidity.
Well,
Now, will you be
somebody-
having CBD vendors and regular stuff like that as well?
So this is where obviously we start getting in the weird with the state law and
Mhm.
this and that. So as far as my reading of the state law, we can end up having CBD products, but just to kind of play a little safe, we won't allow the flower.
Yeah, right.
So
Right.
just to kind of
Just have the hemp
right,
derived.
and,
It's
you know-
all hemp derived. As long as we are
Right.
clear on that, this is
Right.
hemp derived products.
as
Right,
long
we're
as
good.
that's fine, we stay within law, everything, this is something too that rather than, within Rhode Island, it's all medical, so I got to play under the medical laws. Within Mass, they're still out and fully out, so I still got to play someone with the medical laws and a little bit
And
of
the
rec.
rec
We were
law,
able
right.
to add, the 21 plus in the area. With Connecticut, it's
New ground.
new ground. It's also a protest, because
Right.
we can't.
Well, this is the only
can't
way
cultivate.
to do it.
So, but like, why not? It's like, yeah, because they can't cultivate. So I'm actually gonna bring all the cultivators in New England and East Coast to Connecticut.
Yeah, why not? I mean,
And
really,
that-
this is the only way to do it. You have to rattle the cage.
Right, and not just the vendors, but the people that actually come are other cultivators that you know.
Right.
I mean,
Just
you might-
hanging out.
just hanging out and trading information. What about this? What about that? Trading, you know, like there'll
Right.
be genetic preservation kits to the people that can't cultivate. Just kind of, it's
So
like
hold them off till they can.
till they can, right? Just hey,
Right.
you know, it says
I
genetic
like that.
preservation kit. Keep away from soil and dirt to preserve the genetics,
I like that.
and you just keep it on your little library until one day that possibly does happen, and then you can.
So February 3rd, it's over at the Oakdale. Going to be cool.
Yes.
Nice venue.
1 day, 2 days,
Just one day.
one day
Just
event. Be a
Yep.
party afterwards, I'm sure.
We're working on a little.
Maybe somebody
Order
wants
with
to
the
throw
party.
one. I don't. Somebody might want to throw one.
And then
Who knows?
Possibly, yeah. I mean, we hold it's the
I'll
events
be
from
your
like,
hostess.
it'll be 12 to 5. We keep it. It's
all
on,
day event, right?
Yeah,
Yep,
it's on
yeah.
a Sunday. It's kind of chill. So maybe like a 1 or 2 hour after.
Yeah,
It's kind of a little bit more social. But the whole thing is social. I'm gonna have a trading area where people. That's something
Nice.
too. People hoard genetics like really bad.
Oh yeah, because they want to make
Oh
sure they
my
have
goodness! So you might actually
The
get
apocalypse.
something
It's that
from
playing
the
card.
90s like that, like whoa, like almost like trading cards.
Because
or
they're not
stamps
popping
or-
it. It's not like it's something done. They're literally just a genetic preservation kit. Now I
Right,
have them.
but it's
Now
worth
my-
value.
yeah.
It's not.
All right.
Some of it's
Before
like
we
it's
go-
really expensive.
It's the
We're
foil
gonna have to get off
Pokemon.
the air soon. I got to do
Uh-oh.
one more thing.
Oh,
You're
pay the
listening
bills.
to Cannabis Corner on WNHHLP 103.5 FM, broadcasting live from downtown New Haven. We are streaming live on TuneIn Radio and NewHavenIndependent.org. We are also streaming live video on Facebook Live. Just go to Facebook.com/New Haven Independent or go to your Facebook page and look us up. Okay, now before we go, how do people get in touch with you if they want to be a vendor, if they want to just get involved in the show, find out more about it? How do they reach you?
All right now, so the website's being built, should be up by the end of this week, and or you can end up reaching out to us at terpsandtrikes.com. TERPSANDTRICS, no H in the trikes. We're a little fancy,
Right.
Or also we
Got Instagram, Facebook.
Instagram, Terps and Trikes, page, and same with Facebook page.
You got a
Inst-
Gene Traders page. Yep.
Also, you reach me at Lupino45 either on IG as my personal one, or even listen to our podcast too as well.
Oh yeah, what's
Tell
the
them
name
about
of it?
the podcast.
The
Give it a
joint-
plug, quick.
The joint committee sessions, myself, East Coast and Mr. Bond, we talk about the cannabis industry in general and everything else. It's about 2 or 3 hours. We really like get into a little bit of everything. It gets weird, it gets funny. It gets it's a nice little stoner type of thing. It's not like you guys do like a weekly thing, which I'm always tuning in. You was like,
Bro, thank you.
you always see me like, hey, how you doing, guys? So I really love
We
what you
appreciate
guys are
that.
doing. You guys are normalizing this. This is
That's what
such
we're
a
hoping for.
crucial part. We're fighting 80 years of negative branding and marketing.
Right.
80 years.
We have to rebrand it.
Mhm.
That's the key, man. That's the key.
All right, Lou. Thank you for coming on. I just
Thank
want to
you.
go over a
What do we got
couple of
going on,
events.
Joe?
This Wednesday night, the Connecticut Normal meeting is at 7 p.m. at the Rough Draft in Hamden. There is also a bus trip from Bohemian High for people who want to meet us down there at 6 p.m. Bohemian High is in Milford, Connecticut. This October 27th, there's a medical marijuana class with Kebra being taught
Yes.
from 10 to 2 right up here on Temple Street. And then I know she's going to run right down to the expungement clinic, which is down at the same time. Same day, but that's down at Terminal in New
110.
Haven, correct?
Yep.
So do you got anything real quick to say about that?
Oh no, just come if you want to get your record cleared, record erasure, pardon. We'll start that paperwork for you. Come to the medical marijuana class.
The
Help you
clinics
get
are
it.
open.
Oh yeah, clinic
Clinic
is
is
open tomorrow.
open.
2 to 6 Thursday, 2 to 6
Come
Saturday.
get you. And
10 to
November
2.
9th.
Oh, and November 9th is our grand opening in Hartford.
Very
Yes,
good.
we are looking for a new theme song, guys.
All
Email
right.
us.
And sponsors.
Thank you, sponsors.
See you next week.
Future
Bye-bye.
sponsors of America.
I'm chasing gold, y'all. Tell us down, we won't go far.
Give you enough time?
Blue sherbet stuff to hold y'all. 100 P's on the Bay Bridge, stuck in traffic. If I ever run into Riri, let's make magic. Die doing something you love, it ain't tragic. Heard what I said, nigga, it ain't tragic. From the home of lay down, smoking ratchets. Never win when you spell it backwards. I got green in the bay, my whole team Packers. Hold the plug, I need 100 P's. And my shoebox got 100 G. I told my plug I need 100 P's. Now my shoebox got 100 G. Told the plug I need 100 pigs. Now my shoebox got 100 G's. I told my plug I need 100 pigs. Now my shoebox got 100 G's. Gucci slides with the G's while I'm selling pigs. Walking proof, money growing trees. Hit the plug, he gon' fly the geese. 100 P's, we supply the streets. Gelato cookies and that blue cheese. Your bitch woman, she got blue knees. Call her Arizona, she got a few C's. When I'm in California, plug like what you need. Pounds, pounds, pound, pound, pound. Put the work on the table, my niggas break it down. Moving that work sets hazers round. Ask anybody, my niggas run the town. Told the plug I need 100 pigs. Now my shoebox got 100 G's. I told my plug I need 100 pigs. Now my shoebox got 100 G's. Told the plug I need 100 pigs. Now my shoebox got 100 G's. I told my plug I need 100 pigs. Now my shoebox got 100 G's. Man, fill the bag, man. You know, go get a plug and find a town. And get this the paper. The hustle counts. We here, baby.
Hi, I'm Bella, and you can see my YouTube channel at SpideyGirls/Bella. You are listening to WNAHLP 103.5 FM, New Haven, streaming live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. Follow and share.
I'm on a road to heal my splintered soul. I'm on a road to heal my splintered soul. I'm on a road to heal my splintered soul. I'm on a road to heal my splintered soul. Oh, I don't know where it will take me, but you know when I finish this trail, I just might be where I need to be. I'm on a road to heal that splintered soul. I'm on a road to heal my splintered soul. I'm on a road to heal my splintered soul. I'm on a road to heal my splintered soul. I'm on the road. I'm on the road. I'm on that road to heal my splintered soul. I'm on the road. I'm on the road. I'm on the road to heal my splintered soul. I'm like a ship lost in the ocean. I'm like a boat wandering the sea. My heart is torn by the commotion. Oh Lord, I pray this road will bring me back to me. I'm on the road. I'm on the road. I'm on that road to heal my splintered soul. I'm on the road. I'm on the road. I'm on the road to heal my splintered soul.